I'm Justin.
I'm Stephanie.
And this is
Archer.
Archer. And we're the Pollock family. Archer has vanishing white matter disease, which is an ultra rare genetic disorder. And he was blessed to live the first 2 years of his life very normally. He liked to play outside, run around, do all the 2-year-old things little boys like to do, and talk about dinos. And right after his second birthday, he got a normal respiratory virus and suddenly lost his ability to walk, and which sent us to Children's Hospital. And they did a bunch of tests, and they found out on an MRI that that he has a lot of damage in the white matter of his brain, which turned out to be vanishing white matter disease.
Daily, Archer takes about 10 different medications, and it's all by G-tube right now. He got a G-tube of January of last year. So 10 medicines every day, multiple times a day, usually. He also has some medications that are as needed for seizure rescue or things like that.
Archer is tube fed. He has partial blindness. He has a constant seizure risk. He cannot walk, sit unassisted. He has very little speech left and cannot eat or drink. Archer has therapy, various therapies about every day through the week, every single day through the week. Additionally, Archer, one of the aspects of Archer's disease is that he has a very high risk of his disease progressing if he has fever, an infection, or even minor head trauma like a head bump. And so it takes constant vigilance with Archer.
Brad can do Chewbacca sounds for you. What do you think?
That's just Chewbacca.
Yeah. So just part of Archer's disease is that he is at high risk for progression of his disease if he has even a minor head bump or a fever illness specifically. And so he wears protective gear. You might see him in baseball caps. And they kind of are extra padded, you can kind of see, to protect from even just the slightest kind of fall or bump. It doesn't have to be a major fall. And so we're always kind of bubbling Archer as best we can.
We have to quarantine regularly if there's a sickness in the family, or if there's a lot of sickness at church or at school. He doesn't go. Or at therapies, he just doesn't go to those therapies or to school because of the danger associated with him getting a fever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Archer sees probably 6 different specialists regularly. We visit neurology at Children's Hospital often. We have constant, probably weekly communication with his neurologist. GI,
endocrinology recently.
Yeah, endocrinology, and there's Archer's part of a clinical trial. We do a lot of traveling for treatment for his disease.
I was just going to say, for an entire year he was on a drug trial that was in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So we traveled, I think maybe 6 or 7 times to Amsterdam during that time. We just changed to a new trial that came open in the United States in Salt Lake City in August of last year. And so we've traveled there, I think, 3 or 4 times now.
4 or 5.
4 or 5, yes. Yeah, oh, yeah.
5 now. That was our 5th trip. Yeah.
So we just got back from that. So the drug trial, medication, and everything.
Yeah. We're also on first name basis with Brindley's Pharmacy.
Yes. Yep. He goes to physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, feeding therapy, multiple times a week. That's through a private and also through Albertville preschool that started.
Yeah. There's not much rest in our family. We are each other's rest. There's not many people who can take care of Archer because of his complications with his disease. The kind of at-home nursing that's supposedly available isn't really available. those people are unicorns, and to find someone that can do the job, that can be available when you need them, is very rare. And Archer has gotten to the point in his medical journey where his needs are really too great for even extended family to fulfill those needs. So we are each other's rest. I'm her break, she's my break when those things happen. We take shifts at night for Archer. I have the early morning, you have the late night shift, and if something happens, and it does regularly, we just take turns sleeping. So that's what rest looks like for us.
No. I mean, we even have people in our family who are medical professionals, but Archer, kind of the severity of what could happen for even just a simple mistake or simple fall even makes them very hesitant to want to step out and do that. My sister's even a doctor, but he probably weighs half as much as she does at this point because he is so large, she cannot lift him. And not being able to simply move him from here to there or safely is a big concern because he can't have a minor fall. The one time that he has had a minor fall since his diagnosis, it literally led to basically him being paralyzed. What you saw today for him moving around, that is new, and what he has regained in a year with the new drug trial medicine and everything, but we're talking a small
He
bump
went
to the
from,
head.
he got hit in the head. It was like you've done worse on your cabinet, and lost his ability to sit unassisted, speak, stand, swallow, eat, drink all in one day from that. And so because of that, it's hard to find anyone to trust to do that. Even professional nurses, the few I've talked to were terrified of him, and terrified of what it would be to help take care of him. Yes, absolutely. That kind of situation is probably the only thing outside of a hospital that could adequately provide respite in any way for us.
And what would be available now is literal hospitalization, and the times he spends in the hospital, it's not positive. He does not want to go there. It has only been trauma filled. It's not restful because of the emotional state he's in, but also the constant types of checks they have to do because of the facility they are, and it's not built for him to rest with it prioritized with his just normal level of care there. It's always a bit, it's trauma focused things like that. I do feel like it's different as well with like a set aside facility where the nurses are choosing this and having more than one patient who's just like this. I feel like you're getting people who this is what they want. This is who they want to serve. This is not the deer in headlights that I feel like we often get when we are in like a medical setting, to where they're scared of Archer because of his disease, and either whether it's never hearing about it or never working with this population or whatnot. It's like it's a calling, and
Archer needs a place that's like that people want him there, and he deserves that. Speaking when we speak to nurses or have those discussions, it's obvious they usually don't want to deal with this. They don't want to be involved in a risky situation like that.
Or they're not equipped to take care of
it.
Yeah.
One of the things that we fear is if one of us gets sick, and we've had illnesses in the family, but if one of us gets sick or both of us get sick, we would be in a really bad place as a family, trying to protect Archer, trying to take care of him. We've already seen trying our hardest, our very hardest. We make mistakes because of sleep deprivation, because of lack of rest, and it's hard to describe what it's like to spend 2 years in a state of constant vigilance, hypervigilance, to keep him safe, keep him from falling over, keep him healthy, keep all the medicines going, work through all the therapy, homework at home, all those things. And what that does to your memory, what that does to your cortisol levels and all those things. We've made mistakes because of a lack of rest, and that haven't been pleasant for Archer, And so the ability to have rest is probably, I think everyone's, anyone that has a special needs child, a disabled child, they would love for the disease to be healed, number one. But second, they would love appropriate rest, I think, for the sake of the child. Because if you're not at your best, that child is not going to get their best, get your best. When it comes to ministry, like just think about it from a ministry standpoint. Of course, you want to minister to the children, and Maker's Child is so good at that, at ministering to the children who are disabled or special needs, all the different things that they do with, and provide them a safe, fun, spirit-filled, Jesus-centered place, the parents are usually equally isolated, equally, distanced from society, community, fellowship, all those things. We work hard at it, and it's like, it's hard work. Whatever you think it takes, for your, normal family to participate in those things. It's just constant work, to be able to participate, to take him to church on a Wednesday night, to be there somewhere on a Sunday, to be at a community group or small group or something, to go to the store, go to school, anything,
To go to the gym because you have to work out because your son's going to outweigh you and you need to lift him in his 70-pound wheelchair and all the things. It's not, you feel like you end up caring for yourself but it's caring for him, and it's hard to have what you would call self-care because you funnel every amount of energy that you have towards them lovingly, but
honored and blessed to do it.
Yes, but when you're constantly pouring out, you reach a level of exhaustion that you're glad to be at, but you're still exhausted. And so it's like what you're saying, like when it's just us, but one of us goes down and you're pouring out, and you're just going to make a mistake no matter how much that you don't want to. You can't will and white knuckle yourself past it. It's impossible to do because your body's just not built for that.
2 weeks ago, we both got COVID. Archer got COVID. It was terrifying. It was very scary. Ended up in the hospital with it. And how many times we had to check our notes app to make sure all the medicines were done appropriately because we were out of it, sick. It's just like, it's just a lot to keep him safe and to keep him alive. We're terrified of making mistakes because we don't have the rest, that we need. I think about sometimes too the divorce rate for children, for the parents of disabled children is horrendous, because of these stressors that we're talking about, because of how dramatic your life changes, how quickly it changes, and the needs, we know how hard we work, and there's no way this can be done with one person. I fear for the single parents out here doing this. Goodness, they are such incredible troopers. They need rest, but I wonder if those divorce statistics would be different if rest was available for these families going through such terrible times, if access to services that would sustain them as a family. I think those children would have better outcomes in stable families, and so I do fear about that. I wonder what the effects of something like this could be on families.
And even just, and you know, we have another daughter and another child, our daughter, and she loves her brother. She loves interacting and being with him. And we try to make sure all the time that she gets her time and she gets her time to shine, and we make sure to prioritize that. But I just do feel that, you know, even if it's just time that she has for herself, you know, as he's taking this break in a place where he's loved and it's safe, and we don't have to constantly think to ourselves, let me look at this phone and make sure that nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Let me not feel guilty for not being with him and just being with her right now, because I know he's safe, and I can take 1 second to not think about what might be happening or what could happen. The hypervigilance taking that away. But like for her as well, because she cares, and she's always thinking about him, and she needs to know that he has a safe place to be too, you know.
Yeah, I worry about her too, just with the, you know, special needs and disability for a child, especially, you know, chronic conditions like Archer has. They just take up so much room in your life and in everyone's life. You don't do a single thing in your day or your week without that being a primary focus. You know, you can't just go to Costco. You can't just go to do, you know, drop off at school or anything. You're working with G2s. You're planning all these things around medicines. You're getting out of the store quickly because, you know, Archer's having, you know, muscle spasms, or looks like he could be building up for a seizure or something. And so, you know, Evie deserves, she deserves respite, you know. She deserves a time to be able to not fear for her brother, you know, and know that he's safe too. So I think that the burnout is little understood. People don't understand, like, even when you're experiencing burnout, you don't understand it. You don't, because you could say, I want to do a good job, I want to do all these things, but, you know, depression or whatever this is that's oppressing you, it's a force that's only going to be alleviated with proper rest, you know. And so there's a lot of conflicting emotions and desires when you're drowning, you know. I want to give Archer the best life he can have, you know. That's not going to happen if we're too exhausted to play. We have to play for him, you know. We play for him. We are his hands, you know. We are how he holds the airplane and flies it through the air and plays with his action figures and everything. And we want to do it with joy and with whatever kind of enthusiasm Archer as a 4-year-old would have for his play and all the things he's doing. We want to give that to him and provide that for him. That's why it's like our just greatest desire to feel energized, to feel ready to meet the day, and that's why you need a respite. That's why you need a break to recharge, to sleep a full night, to be able to do those things.
I think some of the respite too is not only just the sleep, which is a big thing to think about, but just like the mental rest of it. I think about that. There's just kind of like a weight that you carry of not wanting to make a mistake and wanting to get all the things right, and realizing the importance of it and how seriously we take it. But just even just when I step out and I know he's with his dad and he's safe and stuff, but I can take that weight off for a second, and I feel the relief, and I would like us to be able to have that together. You know, I don't know that that exists outside of one of us taking a turn. Right now it doesn't. But just, you know, with mental health, it's such a big deal to have a break, have a moment to where you're not constantly thinking about the next thing that you have to do, the next medication, the next, and not want to miss. Your brain can be empty for a second.
But most parents, for like just normative kids, is you get to fight hypervigilance and kind of think of hypervigilance as like this is overboard helicopter parenting, and like this is and it's like you're supposed to relax and take a chill pill. But for a lot of children who are disabled with chronic conditions like this, hypervigilance is what's keeping them alive, keeping them safe, and so it's like living forever, like you have that infant who could roll over at the wrong time, who could their head drops in the car seat, all those things that you did when they were little tiny babies. Like you don't stop with that, you're doing that at 4 years old, 6, 7, 8, 12, 18 years old, and so that's that hypervigilance is what is what's turning us gray so quickly. It's like aging us.
Yeah, I read something recently and it said, sometimes when you make your marriage vows and it's in sickness and in health, it's not your own. And we gladly do that every single day, and we will forever.
Yeah.
But I would like to do it healthily and, for as long as we can,
Yep.
to where, we don't just give out mentally or physically because we've not had a break.
Yeah.